Welcome to the Cosmic Buster. My name is Bobby Cody. Mars Perseverance Rover, Anomalies, and UFO'S. Um, for those who don't know, Mars Perseverance Rover is United States' NASA organization's rover that just recently landed on Mars. It's been in the news recently. Almost certainly everybody's heard about it. Um, when this had first landed, when it was first announced, etc., I didn't think it was a big deal from my personal perspective. I'm interested in, anomalies, evidence of civilizations on Mars. I've done a five-part series called Ancient Mars Civilization, Timeline of Discovery. Um, I'm very intrigued by our missions to Mars and any evidence it uncovers regarding life and civilization on Mars. Unfortunately, myself and many other people who are been watching this for decades are aware that Mars has been covering up evidence of life and civilization. So, with this latest Mars Perseverance rover that landed on Mars, I didn't have a lot of excitement regarding it. I just figured, whatever, it's just going to be the typical NASA bull. Um, Now, I should have known that it, NASA would keep with the same playbook that they had from the last rover that landed. That was the Mars Curiosity rover. And I'm going to talk about what happened with that regard to that. I'll put up a photo right now of what's called Gale Crater. Gale Crater is the location on Mars that the last Curiosity rover landed on. Now, if you take a look at that photo, you'll see the crater, and if you look closely, you'll see something sticking up from the middle of the crater. That's some type of structure in the middle of the crater. It shouldn't be there. A crater gets created by some, asteroid or a comet smashing into the surface, and it creates the crater. There shouldn't be anything sticking up because craters are created by smashing down. When you see something sticking up out of a crater, that makes you go, "Hey, what is that?" Especially in Gale Crater, because that's miles high. That's something that's miles high sticking up out of Gale Crater. So when Curiosity rover landed, that was exciting for me and other alternate researchers who have been following this for decades, because we thought, finally NASA's going and investigating the really neat stuff. Um, and so when it landed, I was on Facebook at the time. I'm no longer on Facebook. I deleted my Facebook and Instagram. I no longer use either of those applications. But back when Curiosity rover landed, I was on Facebook and I would share with everybody on my Facebook account. I'd upload all the new photos and show them. And despite the fact that NASA didn't acknowledge it, it was very obvious to me and anybody who looked, this was an archaeological site. That structure that was sticking out of the middle of Gale Crater is literally a structure. It was an artificial structure that's made, millions of years ago, that is now covered by debris and soil, etc. But if you get archaeologists out there and digging it up, they'd find that there's some type of structure underneath, an artificial structure. And that's what I was going into this with, and that's what, once the Curiosity rover landed, I'm showing people all these photos. I'm like, look at that. That mound, that's a structure. And you could see all the photos. You could see structures lined up, mound after mound after mound after mound, and these were structures. No doubt about it. You found this on the same configuration, same type of mounds on Earth. An archaeologist would say, this is a civilization. This is a ancient buried civilization. That's what we found on Curiosity many years ago. So, I didn't think they'd do it again. But with this Mars Perseverance rover, just the first, they've only taken one photo that I'm aware of so far. And finally, I decided yesterday, let me get that Mars Perseverance Rover photo, that one photo, take a look at it, see what's there. And I think NASA's going by the same book that they did last time. They're landing somewhere that's going to have evidence of life and of civilization evidence, and they're not going to acknowledge that fact. So I think what they're doing is behind the scenes, they're investigating this on their own, but publicly they're not acknowledging it. Regardless, what I want to do is I want to take a look at this one Mars Perseverance Rover photo that was released the other day, and I'm going to show you all the anomalies and potentially UFOs that I found on them. It's pretty fascinating. It's got me very excited for this mission. I initially thought it was just going to be the usual NASA bull, but it turns out that there might be some very, very interesting pictures and new discoveries that we make at this location. So just to let you know, um, uh, Mars, I'm going to put it up there right now. Mars landed on what's called, or NASA landed the Perseverance rover on what's called Jezero Crater. You see the landing site circled there. Jezero Crater was at one time a lake. It's a basin. You have the water flowing. If you look on the left side of that photo I have right there, just to the left of the circle, if you look closely, you'll see what looks like a winding ancient riverbed, and that's pretty much exactly what they think that was, some type of ancient riverbed that flowed down into Jezero Crater, which had been a lake. So it turns out that I think that they're doing the same thing that they did with Mars Curiosity rover. They landed somewhere very interesting where we can expect to find civilization evidence. Now, I just want to talk real quick about why we can expect to find civilization evidence there. Because it was water. Um, on Earth, human civilizations always construct their cities and towns near water, almost exclusively, because it acts as a means of transportation, acts as a resource for when it's a river or a lake, because you can take drinking water and bathing water from it. So water has always been something that civilization parks itself aside. So with this Jezero Crater being a former lake and a riverbed emptying into it, we can expect to find civilization evidence here potentially. And I'm going to talk about some of the things that I found. And this is just one photo from the Mars Perseverance rover. I blew it up and I found a whole bunch of very, very fascinating, interesting stuff. First off is UFOs. I found what appear to be two UFOs. Um, First, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put up the entire photo right there so you can take a look at it. That's the first photo from the Mars Perseverance rover. What I'll do right now, and this is the only one that I utilized. It's the only photo there is that I'm aware of. So this is the only photo I utilized. I blew it up. I took screenshots of the ground and the sky to see what I could find. I found two UFOs in the sky. Could be an artifact of the camera, no question about it. It could be dust on the lens. It could be all sorts of things. It could be insects. Could be insects flying around on Mars. I've already done a video about a scientist who found insects on Mars, and he published a paper. I'll put up a card to that now called "Scientist Finds Flying Insects on Mars." So these UFOs that I found in the photo, they could be insects. They're so small that it's impossible to define what they are. I blew these up extraordinarily large to take a look, and they're like a pixel. big. You can't really make out any distinguishing features whatsoever. So I'm not going to show you a blurred pixel, but I'm going to show you the photo that has this information in it real quick. So here we have, here's the first one, and it's hard to see. It's put the photos up there now. If you look in, you can see the landscape on the bottom, and then you see obviously the sky takes up the middle portion. It's light bluish there. If you look, I'd say it's the upper 80% of the sky. Right in the middle, you'll see a little dash or little black spot there. That's something up there in the sky, presumably. Again, it could be a camera artifact. Um, when I look at it, and I blew that up to the best that I could, it looked three-dimensional. It looked like something in the sky. It didn't look to me like a camera artifact or a smudge. It looked like there's literally something up there in the sky. Who knows? One of the ways we can determine whether it's a camera artifact or not is look at subsequent photos from the same camera. If it's a camera artifact, then you're going to get another like a little black smudge in the same location on further photos that the camera produces. But I don't think that's the case. That was the only one I found. And then just as I was getting ready to do this video, I did a quick sweep through those photos, and I found another one, actually. This would be to the far right of the massive photo. It's to the very, very far right. There's another little tiny dot up in the sky. I don't know what it is. Could be an insect, could be an artifact of the camera, could also be UFO, something flying up in the sky, but it's definitely there in the photo. And it may be hard for you to see, but it's toward the right of the sky, but just a little to the right of the middle of the photo. It's in the sky, a little to the right, a little down. What I'm gonna do is all of these photos I'm gonna zip up, and I'm going to put them in a link down below in the description. That way you can download all these photos yourself, blow them up and take a look yourself, and you can make your own determination. These things are definitely there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put all of these photos at the end of this video as well. So if you'd like to take a look at these videos, you can skip ahead to the very, very end of this video, and maybe the last 2 or 3 minutes of this video, I'll just have these photos that I enhanced scrolling through this video at the end. So let's see what else we have here. This one I thought was very, very interesting. It looks to me like the letter A and a number 1 next to it. This is looking down at the ground. I think it's either underneath the rover or right in front of the rover. But the A looks very symmetrical, and then right next to it there's a 1. I mean, if you put a bottle around it, I'd say, oh yeah, that's A1 steak sauce. I mean, that looks like an A, and that looks like a letter 1. There's no getting around it. I did blow it up, and as you blow it up, it tends to blur as well. So the fact that it looks like an A and a 1 could be an artifact of the resolution, and that as you blow it up with more detail, it won't be as symmetrical. I don't know. We'll see in subsequent videos. Or production photos by the Mars Perseverance Rover. Here's another one we found. On this one, it looks to me like I talked to you before about how mounds, when you find mounds on Earth, they frequently are archaeological sites. They're structures that are so old that soil and dirt and dust has accumulated on top of them. And when you dig them up, you find structures underneath. That's what this looks like in the background to me. You see, it looks almost like two pyramidal structures. Boom, boom. Those look like structures to me. Those look like mounds. It's the regularity of the mound that is one of the things that you look at in determining whether it's just a normal mound or it's actually could be a potential archaeological structure underneath. And the regularity that I see in the background there, those two mounds, looks like it's maybe an archaeological site. Um, this one I put up here, this next photo, I put up because if you look in the horizon there, you see the mountain way in the back, right? But before the mountain, in the foreground there, if you take a look closely, you see certain objects on the horizon sticking up out of the horizon. Could be very massive boulders of rocks, maybe. But those are potential sites of interest that I hope they go and take a look at. Last time with Mars Curiosity Rover, all the really fascinating stuff that you wanted to look at, they ignored. I was like, for weeks I'm going, oh wow, look at that! I can't wait till they go near there, and they just go right by it. All the really interesting civilization-like stuff, they went right by. I'm hoping this isn't the case this time. I'm hoping this time they look at some of the interesting stuff, and in particular, like I said, those stuff off on the horizon sticking up like that could be boulders, probably is, but those are pretty large and massive, and I hope they go and take a look at them and see what they are. What else do we have? Here we have more stuff on the horizon. If you take a look at the horizon there, where the horizon is, and then there's a mountain behind, past the horizon, right at the horizon, a little to the right there, right, I should go like that because this is a mirror image. You see, it looks like a dark square. I don't know what that is, but again, looks strange. Doesn't look natural. I hope they go take a look at it. You know, again, it could be anything. It could be something perfectly natural, but looking at it here, it looks very strange, and I would take a look at it as another potential archaeological artifact. Let's see what else we have here. Right in the middle of this photo, right here, it almost looks like a recliner. Excuse me, almost looks like a recliner. It's a very strangely shaped rock that appears to be very symmetrical. Almost looks like a recliner. That kind of slants a little bit to the right, but it's a very strange looking rock if it is a rock. I hope they go and take a look at that one too, because that's a very, very strange looking rock, I must say. Let's see what else we have here. Here we have, if you look off again, off in the horizon, there's one, two, on the left, middle, and to the right. It's tough to see because of the resolution, but there's some strange looking boulders again out there. Again, I hope they spend a lot of time looking at that because it's very, very intriguing looking. What else we have? This one here in particular, on the right, if you look again to the out in the horizon, but just a little closer to the camera, and then the far right. So it's on the far right horizon, a little close to the camera. It looks like some type of rectangular structure. Doesn't look like a boulder to me. The one in the middle too looks a little bit interesting, but the resolution on that is tough to make out. But one on the right, it looks very interesting too. And again, as we get closer, it may turn out to just be a natural boulder, but again, it looks very, very regular to be a boulder. This one I'm just gonna throw up. Could be more boulders, more something. Who knows? The resolution isn't that great. And matter of fact, now that I look at it, if you look at the bottom of the photo tube, bottom right, there's two more. Looks like could be rocks. Probably is rocks. Um, but if you look closely, there does appear to be, again, some structure and symmetry to these rocks, which you wouldn't expect. Who knows? We'll see. But again, that's interesting. Again, here's one right in the middle. Um, you think, okay, it's a boulder, but look at the top of it. Look how flat that is. Again, it could be the resolution, but I wouldn't expect a boulder that I found to be that flat as that appears to be the one in the middle there. What else do we have? Again, we have several boulders. Look like they may be boulders, but there's one in the middle. If you take a look, it's looks to be darker on the left hand side and light on the right hand side. Hard to see, looks somewhat symmetrical. It's going to be interesting looking at that one close up if they give us. This one right here, I just want to throw up as finally one that actually looks like it's probably just a boulder. This is probably the first one I've seen. Yeah, that's a rock. That's a rock. This is the only one. I wanted to throw it up as an example of one where I'd say, yeah, that's probably a rock. It's only one that I've seen off in the distance that actually, where I would say, yeah, that's definitely a rock. And finally, I found this one very interesting. Was very close to the Mars Perseverance Rover. Rock, but it looks like, and it could be the coloring on the rock is just like that. But you look at that rock right in the middle, maybe that's just black on the rock, or it looks like it's actually there's a groove in the rock. I don't know if it's a groove and that's shadow we're looking at, that black in the middle of the rock, or that's literally the surface of the rock that's black. It's hard to tell at this resolution. But if that's a groove in the rock, that doesn't look natural. If that's just the color of the rock, then it's not as amazing as you would expect. But again, that's another example of something that should be looked at closely. So that's pretty much it. Mars Perseverance Rover, Anomalies and UFOs. Found it fascinating. Once again, I want to reiterate, I'm going to zip up all these photos, share them in a link down below. So if you want to take a good look at them, blow them up, and get a real good idea of why I'm interested in these, go right ahead, download them. Other than that, like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff, and we're going to end up with some full screen shots of all these photos so you can take a look at them as the video ends. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll have another video for you soon. Thanks.